You also mentioned thoughts of hurting others, thoughts of harming others.
Yeah.
Like how far along you got? Like you got like following people or ever getting in like physical altercations or identifying specific people?
Not specific people. That's probably a type I would have went for. Because I said I knew how to do it. Actually, it's hard. I just want to do it. I never followed anyone. Never got that far.
In the late evening hours on Friday, June 9th, 2017, police officers were dispatched to the University of Illinois to investigate a missing persons report. Students at the university tell the officers that they haven't heard from one of their colleagues since around noon and were very concerned for her. At first, this seemed like a typical missing persons case, where the person would eventually show up with an explanation as to why they went missing. But the more police learned about this particular person, the more they'd realized that this case was anything but typical. The person in question was identified as 26-year-old Yingying, an exchange student from China, who had recently arrived in the US and was just about to complete her first semester at the University of Illinois. Yingying had just finished college in China, where she graduated at the top of her class with a degree in agriculture. She arrived in Illinois about 2 months prior to conduct research on photosynthesis and crop productivity. Yingying came from a modest home and was the first in her family to graduate college. When she wasn't studying, Yingying spent her time doing volunteer work for her community and performing as the lead singer of a band that she formed with some of her friends. She'd just celebrated her 26th birthday right before she flew to the US and had big plans coming up. Yingying and her longtime boyfriend Zhao Lin were tying the knot and were planning for their wedding in October of that year. Everyone who knew Yingying had nothing but good things to say about her. Her colleagues at the university said that despite the language barrier, she was very pleasant to be around and always had a big smile on her face. Her colleagues also noted that she was very punctual and that she was rarely a minute late whenever she needed to be somewhere, which is why they were so worried about her after not hearing from her for hours. Earlier that day, Yingying was conducting research in her lab until about 1:30 p.m. when she told her colleagues that she was leaving for a bit. She'd recently found a new apartment that she liked and said that she was heading home for a quick lunch, then to her new apartment to sign the lease. She told everyone that she should be back no later than 3 p.m., but hasn't been heard from since. Police knew from the start that something was probably wrong since Yingying was new to the US and barely knew anyone, but they had to wait 24 hours to launch an investigation. By the next day, Yingying's friends had contacted everyone she knew, asking if they'd heard from her or knew where she was, but nobody had a clue. As soon as 24 hours had passed, police got to work right away and hit the ground running. They tracked down and met with Rontrez Stone, the apartment manager who was supposed to meet with Yingying and have her sign the lease. Rontrez confirms that they were supposed to meet at her new apartment that afternoon, but says that she never made it. He handed detectives his phone and showed them his text messages. Yingying texted him to let him know that she was running late, and when he asked her what time she'd arrive, she said around 2:10 p.m. 2:10 came and went, and Rontrez asked her if she was still meeting him, but she never responded. Local and campus police, as well as student organizers, started handing out missing flyers around the community, asking for help in finding Yingying, while detectives continued looking for leads. While waiting to gain access to her phone data to try and ping her location, investigators traced the route Yingying would have taken after she left the lab. They spotted multiple CCTV cameras installed throughout campus, as well as on all the buses that passed through it. After pulling hundreds of hours of footage, they began the grueling task of going through it all, looking for Yingying. The first clue came in from a camera installed at a bus stop right by her home. At 1:35 p.m., Yingying can be seen entering the bus and smiling at the driver as she presents her bus pass. She takes a seat, pulls out her phone, and apparently starts typing out a text message. The timestamp on the footage confirms that this was when she texted the apartment manager to let him know she was running late. A few minutes later, Yingying gets off at a stop right at the heart of the college campus. Detectives know that to get to her new apartment, she would need to transfer to another bus nearby. They switch to the footage from that bus and spot something on the exterior camera. As the bus pulls up to the stop, someone appears to approach it from behind. It's Yingying. She starts running and waves her hand to try and catch it, but the bus drives off and she misses it. Police continue to scour hours of footage from multiple cameras all night, but they aren't able to find anything else. The next day was Sunday, June 11th, and Yingying had been missing for 2 days. Law enforcement were able to reach her family back in China and inform them that she was missing. Upon hearing the news, her parents immediately grew concerned and started making plans to fly to the US to look for their daughter. Hundreds of flyers had been circulated around the community, but nobody had any idea where Yingying was. When her phone logs came in, they confirmed that her last message was the one she sent to the apartment manager. It's now clear that something must have happened between the time she missed her bus and when she was supposed to arrive at her new apartment. By Sunday night, police had combed through hours of footage from surrounding surveillance cameras, but found nothing, until one detective decided to look through footage from a nearby parking garage. The camera is located 2 blocks away from where Yingying was last spotted, but luckily, it was able to catch something. By the edge of the frame, someone appears to walk toward the bus stop by the corner. It's Yingying, and she's at the stop where she missed her second bus, apparently waiting for the next one. A few minutes later, a dark-colored vehicle pulls up to the corner and stops. Another camera captures a better angle. Yingying approaches the car and leans over as she appears to talk to someone inside. The conversation lasts for about a minute, after which Yingying opens the passenger door and climbs into the vehicle. The car then pulls off and heads north until it leaves the frame. Detectives closely examined the footage looking for anything they may have missed and spotted something. Just before the car approached Yingying, it drove up to the corner from the opposite direction and made a left turn. It looks like the driver spotted her as they turned and then drove back around, and that's when they approached her. None of this was a good sign. There was no doubt at this point that Yingying was in fact kidnapped, and her missing persons case was now an investigation for an abduction. The longer she stays missing, the less likely Yingying will be found alive. Detectives needed to pick up their pace and contacted the Illinois State Police for help. The state police reached out to the FBI, and federal agents were sent to assist in the investigation. As investigators combed through the rest of the CCTV footage, another lead came in. A female student at the university called the police to report an incident on campus that creeped her out. She says that after finishing her classes, she walked to a bus stop near the one Yingying was last seen at, when a car pulled up right next to her. The driver waved her down and rolled down his window, then flashed a badge, telling her that he was an undercover cop. He asked her to get in his car so he could ask her some questions, but she refused and he drove off. This unsettled her so much that as soon as he was out of view, she immediately called the police. It's very likely that whoever this man was enticed Yingying to get in his car by telling her the same thing. This was cause for concern, since anyone posing as a cop to get a young woman into his car definitely has a sinister motive. After reviewing the rest of the footage, detectives spotted the car driving through nearby streets, but couldn't track where it went. None of the cameras provided a clear view of the license plate, but investigators were able to identify the car as a Saturn Astra. Police pulled up a complete list of all matching vehicles registered in Champaign County. There were just 26 of them, and out of those, only 18 were hatchbacks, like the one caught on video. Over the following days, FBI agents were sent to the homes of each of the registered owners to question them and ask to look inside their cars. They all complied and allowed them to take photos of their vehicles, and none of them immediately struck investigators as particularly suspicious. But this was about to change. On Wednesday, June 15th, 5 days after Yingying went missing, detectives were closely reviewing all the footage they collected from nearby cameras when an officer made some interesting observations. This particular Saturn had a large sunroof, which narrowed down the list of possible matches. But more importantly, when the image of the car was enlarged on one of the videos, it's clear that a large part of the front rim was chipped off. When this was brought to the attention of the federal agents, they immediately recognized it. They looked through the photos and found the car with a large sunroof. As they went through the rest of the photos, they found a large chip on the front passenger side rim, exactly matching the car on video. The owner of this vehicle was identified as 27-year-old Brent Christensen. Brent was a graduate student studying physics at the University of Illinois and lived with his wife in an apartment near campus. His spring semester had just ended, and he spent his summer break at home applying for jobs. Federal agents recalled speaking with both him and his wife when they went to take photos of their car. When they were asked about their whereabouts the day Yingying went missing, Brent's wife had told them she was out of town and had shown them receipts from her trip. Brent, however, said that he didn't remember what exactly he was doing that day and was most likely at home playing video games. Police quickly tracked down the woman who reported the man who tried luring her into his car and brought her in for a photo lineup. Before even seeing all the photos she was presented with, the woman made a positive identification and said she was 100% sure that it was him. It was Brent Christensen. The FBI promptly went back to Brent's house and asked him to come in for further questioning.
So I know that you spoke with my colleague Joel. So if you can kind of give me a recap of what you told him, I would appreciate it.
Brent sticks to his story and says that he was at home playing video games the day Yingying went missing.
I was either playing video games on my computer or taking a nap.
Is it just between the time period that he's asking about, or just literally all day?
Literally all day.
FBI agents confront him with the video evidence they found and start pushing for some answers.
Look, you know that we didn't bring you all the way up here to talk about video games and what you had for lunch that day.
Yep.
But it's fair to say that we know that that's not true, correct?
Why would I lie? I mean,
Do you know what we have access to? Cameras. Do you think that we're not going to track a vehicle all over campus? We control kiosks to bus stops. We can look in buses.
Believe me when I say that the full weight and force of the FBI is going to descend on that vehicle.
Brent is now becoming visibly nervous. He's made aware that there's footage of Yingying entering his car, and now needs to come up with an explanation for this. He changes his story and says that he did actually pick her up, but that she left his car a few blocks away.
But I know that you picked her up. I know you did. I saw you in your shirt, arms fully extended.
maybe I'm getting my days mixed up and
Okay.
I thought I drove around on Saturday. I did pick a girl up. I don't remember where.
Okay.
I saw her picture. I don't think it was her though.
Do you remember the girl's name that you picked up?
No, she was in very broken English. And she was very distressed.
Okay.
So I stopped my car and looked at her. I asked her if she needed help and talked to her for a little bit about lunch. I gave her a short line of code blocks. She freaked out and got out.
Investigators aren't buying his new story, and they continue to push for answers.
I don't think that you're a bad person. Something happened though, and something got out of control. What I can tell you is that we will find her. Now, when we find her is up to you, because you know and we know that she didn't just get out of your car.
Brent holds his ground and doesn't budge. At this point, investigators know that Yingying was likely murdered. Law enforcement have probable cause to make an arrest, but they make a calculated decision to send him home. They decide to keep 24-hour surveillance on him, in hopes that they'll catch him trying to dispose of evidence or that he'll lead them to Yingying's remains. In the meantime, they shift their focus to Brent's personal life. They learn that Brent and his wife were in an open relationship, and that they were both dating other people outside of their marriage. Detectives tracked down Brent's girlfriend and let her know that he was being investigated for a possible murder. She was shocked to hear this, but agreed to wear a wire and record her conversations with him. About a week after Yingying went missing, her family arrived in Illinois and immediately began their effort to try and find her. They sat down with the FBI and answered their questions, but they weren't given any details about the investigation or about suspicions that Brent Christensen may have abducted her. Her parents, along with her boyfriend, met with the local press to try and draw attention to her disappearance. They spent the next few days handing out flyers in the streets and meeting with faculty members at the university, but there was still no sign of Yingying. It wasn't until 3 weeks after she was last seen that police would finally get another lead, but it wasn't what they were hoping for. As a show of support, the local community organized a walk through the college campus to help raise awareness for Yingying's disappearance. Not too long after it was announced, the FBI received a call from Brent's girlfriend. She tells them that she just received a call from Brent, who told her he was attending the walk and asked her if she'd like to join him. She agreed and was fit with a wire to record her conversation with him. Local news correspondents also attended the event and captured them both on camera. As they walked alongside the rest of the crowd, Brent pulled her close to him and started boasting about how he murdered her.
People are nice. They want to save them. I tell you, you have no idea. You know what you know.
What do you know? What happened?
She was Ellie. She worked.
She was? She's tight.
More than anyone else.
Brent was arrested the following morning, and a forensics team was sent to his apartment with a search warrant. In his bedroom, police found a baseball bat with dark stains on it. DNA testing confirmed that it was Yingying's blood. When police removed the sheets from his bed, they found dark stains covering a large portion of his mattress. Luminol testing confirmed that it was in fact blood. There was also blood covering the walls and the carpet, with bloody footprints and a trail leading through the bedroom and out into the bathroom. When his car was tested with luminol, virtually every part of it lit up, including the doors and the interior of the trunk. Analysis done on Brent's phone and computer revealed that he frequented a sexual fetish website where he expressed his depraved fantasies on a forum dedicated to abductions. Brent Christensen was charged with 1 federal count of kidnapping resulting in death and was facing the death penalty. He was denied bail and was held in custody until his trial began in June of 2019. The prosecution presented compelling evidence to the jury, which included witness testimony from the first woman he tried to coax into his car, Yingying's DNA that was found on the bat and under his carpet, and a video they found in which Brent told a student counselor at the university that he was homicidal and had an urge to kill. They also played the audio his girlfriend secretly recorded in which he boasted about murdering Yingying. Prosecutors believe that on June 9th, Brent took advantage of the fact that his wife was out of town and decided that this would be the day he'd finally act out his fantasies. After failing to get Emily Hogan into his car, he drove around the college looking for someone else when he spotted Yingying standing alone at the bus stop. He gave her the same story about him being an undercover cop and was able to get her into his car as she was in a hurry to get to her new apartment. As they approached his home, Brent snatched her phone from her and beat her as he bound her hands together. Weighing about 100 pounds more than Yingying, it didn't take much for Brent to force her up to his apartment, where he assaulted her and raped her in his bedroom, leaving behind blood stains on his mattress. By his own admission, he choked her for about 10 minutes, but she fought back fiercely.
She fought until
She was beyond me. I choked her for 10 minutes. I released her. I tried to choke her. She didn't die.
When he was done assaulting her, he dragged her to his bathroom, where he hit her with his baseball bat as hard as he could, breaking her head open.
Here it hurt. It's not bad. It's not bad. And I hit her on the head as hard as I could. And it broke her head open.
She remained conscious and fought for her life as he stabbed her multiple times in her neck, eventually killing her.
She was
It was now Friday night, and Brent had a dead woman lying in his bathtub with blood covering the bathroom and his bedroom. With his wife returning on Sunday night, he had a couple days to clean everything and began his cover-up. He first decapitated the body and dismembered it, then placed the remains and all her belongings in multiple trash bags, which he disposed of in dumpsters throughout the city. He then stopped by Walmart and purchased cleaning supplies, then returned home and spent the rest of the weekend cleaning his car and his apartment. He meticulously wiped all the surfaces in his bathroom and scrubbed his baseball bat, his mattress, and the carpet. He even poured Drano down the pipes to get rid of any remaining evidence. By the time his wife returned home on Sunday night, there were no visible signs that a murder had taken place in the apartment. Despite no body being found, the jury returned with a verdict after just 2 hours of deliberation. Brent Christensen was found guilty of kidnapping resulting in death and 2 counts of making false statements to the FBI. Following the trial, Brent's attorneys informed Yingying's family that her remains were disposed of in multiple dumpsters around the city. By the time this information came to light, it had been over 2 years since then, and her remains were never recovered. Because the jury was not able to unanimously agree on a death penalty, Brent was handed a sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole. Brent Christensen is currently housed in Coleman Federal Corrections Facility in Florida, where he will remain for the rest of his life.